In this video, I'm going to explain to you the full process of translating an ancient Sumerian sentence. We're going to look at this sentence, which is taken from this tablet entitled A Debate Between Grain and Sheep. So again, these are the characters that we're looking at, and the first thing we're going to do is transliterate. This is the act of taking one writing system and converting it into another writing system. In this case, we are taking Sumerian cuneiform, which is a logo-syllabic script, and converting it into the Latin alphabet. An alphabet uses single letters to build words with a complex grammar system and punctuation, whereas a logosyllabic script uses logograms and syllables to build their words along with a complex grammatical system. So when we transliterate this sentence, we end up with this. Utpa inkike en lira gu munate. So for context, you see these D's here in brackets. These represent this star-looking sign. This is the dinger sign. It is a logogram, but it's not meant to be pronounced. In this context, it's being used as a determinative. It's there to tell us that what follows is the name of a divine entity, spelt out here in syllables. And if you are wondering what the numbers represent, well, they represent the sign, because Sumerian is homophonic and polyvalent, so it's letting us know which sign it's actually referring to. For instance, we have Gu1 or Gu, and then Gu2 and Gu3, etc. Okay, so the next step is to make some sense out of all of this. And we don't need the signs anymore because these are exactly what they represent. So we can get rid of that and create some space. Okay, then so Udba is actually a temporal clause of Ud meaning day, and Ba is a mashup of the demonstrative marker and the locative marker. So it's saying day on that. Sumerian is a noun first language, so converting the top line to English grammar is on that day. So the next line, we've already concluded that this is going to be the name of a divine entity, and it's Enki, the god of water, creation, intelligence, and mischief. But if you notice on the end here, there's an extra morpheme, and what this is called the ergative case marker. This is a completely foreign concept to English, but what the ergative case marker does is it marks the subject of a transitive verb. So we can be sure to expect a verb coming up within this sentence. And whereas English is a subject, verb, object word order, Sumerian is a subject, object, verb word order. And so the quick thinkers among you might have figured out then by now that if this is the subject, this is going to be the object, and this down here is going to be the verb, where the object is the direct recipient of the action of the verb, the direct object. So it makes sense then that this next line is another divine entity, as we have already concluded with the determinative for divine. And this is Enlil, and his name is also attached to a case marker, but this case marker is the dative case marker. Again, this is another completely foreign concept in English, but the dative case can only be used with animate objects. In Sumerian, this is humans or gods, and it denotes emotion to or for said animate object. In this case, we're going to translate this as to, which makes perfect sense here, because we already know, thanks to the Sumerian word order, that Enlil is the direct object. So at this point, we know that Enki is doing something to Enlil. And we are now about to find out what that something is. So this is the verbal chain, and the verbal chain has without a doubt the most complex set of rules within the Sumerian grammatical system. But I will try and explain this as simply as I possibly can. So I need a little bit more space, so I'm just going to temporarily get rid of this and do this, because this actually consists of 4 parts, not 5, and I want to make that very clear. Unsurprisingly, this has a very foreign concept again to English, that being the verbal chain will cross-reference the earlier mentioned subject and object. And to have it make more sense, I'm going to start at the end and work my way back to mu. So A is a hyper-specific functional marker to the third person human singular within a transitive verb. And this is cross-referencing the subject. It's cross-referencing Enki. But in English, we're going to simply translate this as he. So next, gude. This has been split up like this because it is a compounded verb. It's a non-finite verb compounded with a noun. It's to pour compounded with voice. To pour the voice, further translating to speak. However, this is actually past tense because there is no present future marker. So this is the past tense version of the verbal base to speak, meaning spoke. Next, na is the dative within the verbal chain. It's the third person singular dative, and it's cross-referencing the direct object. It's cross-referencing Enlil. So we're going to translate this to him. So mu is something that actually gets completely lost in translation. There's no way of really directly translating it in English, but it denotes motion towards the origin of context and is used with animate transitive verbs. It's the prefix used with animate transitive verbs. But if it really does bug you and you just have to give it a translation, I would say translate it as here. Alright then, let's bring back the rest and give it a final translation. So, my direct translation would be, on that day, Enki to Enlil, he spoke to him here. And then converted for English grammar, on that day, Enki spoke to Enlil.